A new year means new seasons, and welcome to one of those new seasons here today. The Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series round number 1 being presented to you live here from the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. Hello, one and all, and welcome. My name is Ola Rempel, and I'll be bringing you all of the coverage here from start to finish on what should be the start of a very exciting 8-race season. This beautiful circuit, located down in Salinas, California, has played host to hundreds of races over the long history since it was first established in 1957 and went through many layouts of the version we know today, established in 1996. 11 turns make up this 3.6-kilometer circuit, where 14 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evos get set to duke it out for 20 minutes of racing action. 22 degrees Celsius currently in the air, 79% humidity in the air means it is going to be a relatively warm track down there for the time being. But before we get set to go racing, it is going to be qualifying time, and these drivers are going to have to put down the hammer to see exactly what they'll be able to do over the course of a 10-minute session to see who will be starting up there on that ever-important pole position. Here you see Cody go forth, currently out on circuit in his number 11 green and orange Lamborghini, currently rounding turn number 5 and going up towards the kink of turn 6, just on his outlap for the time being. This is going to be one of the more important corners up the hill, the Rayhole straight up towards turn number 8, the corkscrew, one of the most fearsome corners in all of motorsports right there. Some of the most sharp elevation changes you'll see in the motorsports world as well, hooking around through turn number 9 back down the hill for turn 10, which, by the way, did actually extend quite a ways further outwards, but was shortened in 96 of the turn 10 we know and love today. And you can see on the left-hand side of your screens, drivers exiting pit road and trying to see if they could get in a solid lap time here today. And it will be go forth and try to set that benchmark time. He'll be the first driver out, but look at all the traffic on the right-hand side. He's probably going to end up getting held up here. And this first lap is very, very crucial. It can be hard to match once you put down your first couple of laps, and he is going to come out right in traffic. And I believe that might be Graza just up in front of him, so no good luck at the moment for Cody Goforth, who now finds himself stuck behind lap traffic for what could be a good section this time. Manico, Skinner, Garza have all started their laps now. And you see so far everybody except Leo Devlin and Steven Colon out there on their outlaps. William Brock making his way towards pit exit for the time being. Up over the rise, and you see just how much Goforth is getting held up. Finally finds a way to just break through right at the corkscrew, but it might have been too little, too late. Track temperature is currently sitting at 49 degrees Celsius. It is a very hot track out there for the time being. Winds at about 12 kilometers an hour. So I should say far from ideal conditions here at the WeatherTech Raceway. Goforth will put the benchmark time down with 6 minutes to go in the session. It's a 1:23.713. I expect that to be bested before long, though. Mason Skinner lost the second time. Interesting enough, slower, though. Might have been held up a bit more lap traffic than Goforth was. Only a 1:24.987 to put him up into second place. And at this point, everybody is out there on track, though not everybody is currently setting hot laps for the time being. That is going to be changed within the next couple of moments. There's the times we're looking for. Casey Nanico with a 1:22.514, 6/10 clear of Luca Garza. Looks like Mason Skinner has had a bit of an off between turns 4 and 5, but it is off circuit, so not going to be impeding any drivers trying to go out there on their laps. Riding on board with Cody Goforth back up the Rayhole straight up towards turn 8 at the corkscrew. And that camera angle does not do justice just how much elevation change there is there, how violent that elevation change can be. Very, very difficult to hit fifth gear at this track, as Zachary DeBello gonna break through to provisional pole with a 1:22.499. 5 minutes left to go from race control in the session. Ricky Freeman Jr. to the top with a 122.354. And how about Bobby Vincent gonna break through to 5th place? Patrick Smith to 6th. Go 4th, good enough for 7th place. Preston gonna log an 8th place time, a 124.134. Still taking a lap on board here with Goforth around this very technical circuit out through the turn 3 and up to 4. Have to push out a little bit towards the curbs as Shea Barrett goes 4th fastest. And so far, despite lap traffic not being in his way, Goforth's second lap only good enough for P9 as William Brock goes 4th fastest on the day. Nanico up to 3rd. Last two drivers just coming to complete their opening laps now. Their first time laps. To see what this will mean for those drivers that are just coming across. Leo Devlin logging a 123.493. Good enough for 11th. What has Steven Colon logged? How about that? A 122.896. That'll put him up to P5 on the timing boards. There is your current pole sitter, Ricky Freeman Jr. extending his lead out in front with a 122.253. There you can see the timing list of where drivers are all sitting so far. The top 8 all within a second. Make that the top 9 now. And Bob Vincent just 3,000s out of that bracket. 1.8 separates first on back. And Preston needs to get a move on. 0.6 up from Preston. And of course Mason Skinner 2 seconds off. Hasn't had a good start at all. Aiden Smith goes 3rd fastest. Shea Barrett will improve to 7th. And here are some of the more relative times you can see here between the various little position battles you've got going on here in qualifying. The closest one is between Colin and Barrett. Just 0.6 of a second separating those drivers. In the final quarter now of qualifying, a 1/10.5 or so just over that separates Bello from Ricky Freeman Jr. And I have to wonder where Mason Skinner's going to end up because he had a very bad opening lap and then had to pull off on his 3rd lap. He'll only realistically have one more opportunity as there's a spin, and that was Mason Skinner going around again. And I think that might be the nail in the coffin for Skinner's qualifying run. No safe spot really to be able to get turned around until William Brock goes through. Looking at the replay, just lost it by himself up and over the crest. Did a good job to keep that out of the barriers. But demonstrating the hazards of running too wide and too deep on the race of the corkscrew there. At this point, drivers should have enough for one more lap once they cross start-finish. But you see a lot of drivers starting to enter pit lane. Smith has bailed out on his laps. Danico's bailed. Brock is out. So is Garza. Goforth has come down to pit road. Mason Skinner trying one more time to see if he can potentially get a lap in. But, of course, he spun on that attempt, so he will not be able to get another time in. And we will see here if that 87 car of Zachary DeBello will also opt to come into pit road. And he will. DeBello not going to be able to improve on his lap times as Devlin goes up to 11th place with 123.292. Your pole sitter has also pulled down a pit lane, not able to improve on his lap times either. So at this point, you've only got about 4 other drivers on track, and they're also pulling on in. Look at Garza coming in, Smith, Vincent, and more. That brings us up to the 44 car of Shea Barrett, who is still yet to come down to pit road or complete his lap time here. And he is also pulling it into the pits. Nanico is leaving pit road. He's going to hope he can get another time in, but with only 10 seconds left on the clock, that's not going to happen. So look back now to the 69 car of Leo Devlin, and checkered flag has flown. Drivers are allowed to complete their laps or come into pit road, whichever comes first. Brock and Nanigo both left pit road to try to go for another one. I don't think that's going to work out for them, though, as both of these drivers are going to be pulling in. That was the 69 of Devlin pulling in, along with the 77 of Stephen Cologne. There's the 96. Casey Nanigo, one of those drivers who was going to try to go for an extra lap, but not going to be able to get that time in. Left pit road just 10 seconds before the clock expired. He'll probably find that out the hard way when he leaves pit, or when he comes around to the start-finish line. On board, you can hear him having to really feather that throttle through turns 9 and 10. It's very hard to get anywhere out of 5th gear at a track like this in these Lamborghini Huracan GT3s. To be expected, no time's going to be improved upon. And that is going to be wrapping up your qualifying session here from the WeatherTech Raceway. Just needing to wait now on everything to cycle on through. Skinner was the last driver to cross the line, so let us run through your starting grid here from the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca for round 1 of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Cup. Ricky Freeman Jr. on pole position. It's Zachary DeBella starting beside him on the front row. Aiden Smith will be in 3rd with Casey Nanigo down in 4th. How about William Brock? 410s back in 5th place. Stephen Cologne going to be in 6th. Shea Bear rounds out the top half of this field with Luca Garza beside him in 8th place. Patrick Smith starts 9th. Bobby Vincent, the first driver, 1 second out in 10th. Leo Devlin going to be in 11th place with Cody go 4th in 12th. With Cameron Preston, Mason Skinner rounding out your 14-car field. Skinner going to be looking to improve big time on his runs after he found himself unfortunate enough to, well, he crashed down in qualifying multiple times. All cars have gridded up, and we wait now for the red lights. And we're underway for the first time with the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Cup, and there goes Ricky Freeman Jr. with a good launch out through turn 1, down towards the Andretti hairpin. The field of 14 cars strong, gonna funnel through still, double file, multiple rows deep, as they throw their way through the apex of turn number 2, back sweeping over to the left-hand side before cutting in for turn 3. Aiden Smith goes up to 3rd place, but he's going to immediately be bumped down to 4th by Casey Nanigo. The top 2 breaking away while the field goes double file behind them. And already the top 2 breaking away by about 1.3 seconds, 1.5 seconds now from Aiden Smith and the rest of the field in behind, who are still scrapping away and jockeying for position as they throw their way through turn 6 and up the rahal straight up the hill towards the corkscrew. And overall, it looks as though this first lap is going to go off without a hitch. Ricky Freeman Jr. leads from Zachary DeBello. Aiden Smith in 3rd, with Nanigo trying to run him down just in behind. William Brock rounding out the top 5. And that time by, Smith is able to pull away as Nanigo had to go defensive against William Brock, who was thinking about a move around the outside line into turn number 1. Lap 1 in the books of what is estimated to be about 14 or 15, whichever happens to come first, depending on what happens up in these scraps here for the race lead. And so far, everyone just sitting single file, and this is where we're going to be getting into some of the more challenging aspects about this circuit. In these GT3 cars, it's very hard to be able to get a good enough drafting run to be able to make a pass. The best opportunity, realistically, you'd think would be into turn 2 of the Andretti hairpin, but with how slow turn 11 is, you spend a lot of the time just getting no speed on the power, not actually utilizing the draft. which realistically makes the best opportunity actually up the rail straight into the corkscrew. But I think anybody that's driven here before will know how risky it is to try to realistically make an overtake in there in GT3 cars when it's so tough to get them slowed down enough as it is. Looking on at Shea Barrett, currently sitting P6 and about half a second down from William Brock, just up the road from him. There you see Nanigo once again going defensive, looking to cover that inside line, making sure Brock can't try a very late defense into the corner. Doing a great job at doing so. So far, this is the biggest grouping of cars you have at the moment with Nanigo, Brock, Barrett, Cologne, Garza, all in a line from 4th to 8th. DeBello and Jr. have continued to pull away, and DeBello is now 2.1 seconds clear of just Smith alone. Freeman Jr. 2.5 seconds clear, so it looks like it'll be down between those two drivers for the overall race win. Just in behind, you saw Patrick Smith and Bobby Vincent getting a little bit close together. That was the battle for P9 at the tail end of your screens. Thing about these GT sprint races like this, especially in the spec series, it puts everybody on a very even playing field. It makes it down to driver skill over who can come out on top. You don't have to worry about multiple different manufacturers as you ride on board now with Stephen Cologne. Still trying to close up to Barrett, just up in front of him. Pit strategy is also not going to be a factor tonight, as pit stops are not mandatory for anybody in this field. And there you can see a nice little display showing you just about where everybody on track is running at the moment. You can see how far away the top two and really the top three have already pulled away from the rest of the pack. 13th and 14th of Preston and Skinner starting to drop off a little bit behind as well. 1 quarter deep already into this race. 14 minutes left to go. And already rounding the 5th lap of the night as well. Of the day, I should say. That Mobile 152 has been steadily looking to close on in on Casey Nanigo just in front of him. That gap down to just about 0.2 of a second. And when you're within about 0.2, that's when you can really think about stepping or poking your nose to the inside and trying to have a look up the inside. And that was up into turn 5, one of the better opportunities on the track to have a look. The problem is, long sweeping left-hander makes it not necessarily ideal for trying to go to late break overtakes like that. And Junior's just broken away to a second lead over DeBello. That number 32 car looks like he's going to be the driver to beat potentially throughout the course of the season if he can keep up performances like these ones. Got a bit of a draft train going on here, which doesn't help anybody in behind except for second place realistically, but second place having to worry about dirty air in front, pressure behind. So no changes currently in the midfield for the last few laps. Here is your gap between the race leaders. This is Ricky Freeman Jr. You see just over 1 second clear of Zachary DeBello, about to make a 1.2. And right at the tail of the shot there was Aiden Smith, showing just how far back he had fallen. Really goes to show just how big of a gap these guys can pull in such a short amount of time if they really know how to properly throw their cars into the mix of things. And how about some of the fastest laps we've seen from everybody all day? And coincidentally enough, DeBello set the fastest lap of the race, but not by much, a 122.588 compared to Ricky Freeman Jr.'s 22.594. That is only about 6 thousandths of a second apart, if I'm doing my math correctly on that one. So DeBello's got a quick car, but that was almost certainly with help of the draft, which is, shall we say, give it a little bit of a helping hand there. Looking a bit further back to Luca Garza, continuing to try and make some grounds from P8 inside the points. But so far, not necessarily able to have the best of runs, shall we say. He's struggling to get close enough to the likes of Steven Colon just in front of him. Speaking of the point standings, oh, look out! Garza going around in turn number 6. And stopped right on corner exit. That is a dangerous place to be stopped, but everybody's going to avoid him. And we're going to keep this race under green flag conditions. But a big mistake there for Luca Garza right as we hit the halfway point in this race. Just pushed a bit too wide on the exit and got into one of the yellow Lamborghinis here. I'm not sure who it was that he was racing with there. I believe that was the P9 driver. Lucky that everybody had heads up driving to get around him. I think that was Patrick Smith that clipped Garza as he spun back onto the circuit. That has split up these battles quite significantly. Here's the one a bit further down between Cody Goforth and Leo Devlin. This is for the final point in the race, and it's 25 points for the race winner, 18 for second, 15 for third, 12 for fourth, 10 for fifth, 8 for sixth. 7th place gets 6 points. 8th gets 4. 2 points for 9th, 1 point for the 10th position. Looking back up to William Brock, still looking to close up to Casey Nanico, but now Nanico 3 seconds back from Aiden Smith. The top 3 have just pulled away. Under 10 minutes remaining now. You can see Garza tumbling down. 7 seconds back from just the next closest driver of Mason Skinner. Looking through your field, Freeman Jr. still leads. DeBello 2nd, Smith 3rd, Nanico 4th, Brock 5th, Barrett 6th, Cologne 7th, Patrick Smith is 8th. Bobby Vincent sits in 9th with Leo Devlin in 10th. Goforth is 11th. Cameron Preston is 12th. Mason Skinner is 13th. Garza in 14th. There you can see the movers and shakers. So far, 2 drivers have lost positions. Cologne's lost 1. Garza lost 6 because of his spin. The top 5 remain unchanged for the start of this race. And the only reason why Smith to Skinner even moved up into positions is because of that spin from Garza. Before that, it was just Barrett and Cologne that had swapped spots. And there's the overall gaps now to the race leaders, and such a wide spread over such a short track like this goes to show just how fast Freeman Jr. can be in these machines. He is going to be a driver to beat for sure by the end of the night. This is, of course, race 1 out of 8. Race 2 will be at Imola. Race 3 sees us swing over to Spa before we jump back stateside to go racing at Road America, then Brands Hatch. Interlagos is round number 6. The Red Bull Ring is round 7. And we finish off the season at the Nürburgring That is the long version of the Nürburgring. That should be a very interesting race. I'm expecting that race to only be about 2, maybe 3 laps. P6. Looks like it might be starting to pick up a little bit. Shea Barrett trying to keep the likes of Stephen Colon at bay. We talk about WeatherTech Raceway is such a difficult track to overtake at with these GT3 cars. You just can't really use a whole lot of the draft to be able to make any kind of speed, and it looks like that is going to be what's hurting a lot of these drivers here today. Now, that being said, there is going to be a lot of racing still coming up, and I expect Imola to definitely be a barn burner of a race. A lot more overtaking opportunities. It's a lot more of a flowing track as well. And one where we could even see a couple of new drivers up at the top of the boards. Barrett's having to go defensive now against Stephen Colon, as you just saw, up into turn number 2 at the Andretti hairpin. Take it right on board with Stephen Colon for the time being. As on the right-hand side, you can see trying to close up to Barrett. You can see the ever-fluctuating gap. Oh, look out as Barrett slides a bit sideways. That costs Barrett 2/10. Stephen Colon will say thank you very much. He just needs one more of those little mistakes and he'll be right on at the pounds. 5 minutes left to go in this race. As Barrett pulls out about a 1/10 over Colon through the corkscrew. Looking a bit further back to our battle for P10, which is still about half a second apart. Leo Devlin doing a good job on weathering the storm that Cody Goforth is trying to put up behind him. And they're both about 5.8 seconds back from Bobby Vincent up the road. Only estimated to be about 3 more laps to go, as we're now in the final quarter of this race. And I have to say, so far this has been... it's been a quiet event. Not too many overtakes, but that is to be expected. There's been a couple of mistakes here or there from drivers, most notably the spin from Garza that nearly took out a good portion of the field. And now you can see everybody starting to get a bit more space part into their battles. In fact, this battle we got between Goforth and Devlin for the final points position is the closest one on track. You saw Devlin go a little bit deep over there into the corkscrew. So a near mistake could have just cost Leo Devlin massive time. Just 3 minutes left to go. Time is rapidly running out for all of these drivers in the field to try to see if they can make up just that one more precious spot. Does Goforth have the time to make that one more spot up on Devlin. Don't think he's going to quite be able to get there, but William Brock, meanwhile, still trying to close up to the back end of Casey Nanico. That gap just 0.3 away and closing in all the time. Two laps to go, this time by 2 minutes left on the clock. The margins are so fine. It's only going to take one big send from Brock. And already Nanico blocking a little bit more down towards the pit wall. 1/10.5 separated them. Brock backs up a bit. Might try to go over the over-under. Swings it out wide, though. Misses the second part of the apex, so he is not going to be able to get there. Such a shame. But it is not over. Just reel in just about another couple of tenths. Maybe he could try something up into the corkscrew, but it'd be a big ask. Got a better run. But up through 6, still not going to be nearly close enough to be able to get there. Final lap starting, this time by, or at least it should be the final lap of this race. There you see Ricky Freeman Jr. coming around to take that white flag, and there it is from race control. Final lap of this race being rounded now by Ricky Freeman Jr. So one more chance, one more lap for Brock to fight his way up into 4th place. Nanico defends. Brock looks high, but still not close enough down into turn number 1. Time has expired, and problems for DeBello. DeBello spun. DeBello is spun out of the 2nd position. This is huge for Zachary DeBello, who is looking set for a good points day, and now is sent tumbling down to 9th place. Taking a look at the replay, no one around him. Did he just drop it on the entry? Yeah, just went in a bit too hot and spun the car around, swung it out to the left-hand side, and he is now out of the points. This is huge for Zachary DeBello. Aiden Smith goes up to 2nd place. Casey Nanico promoted for 3rd. So that battle between Nanico and Brock now for the final podium position. But coming around through the final corner now, Ricky Freeman Jr. by a country mile will win the opening race from the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. And there is your battle for 3rd place. Coming out of the final corner, Nanico will be able to hold on for 3rd. And there is Gaforth, so close to Leo Devlin, but too little, too late. There you see DeBello tucked in behind the likes of Preston. With all cars across the line, let's take a look at your post-race results in just a moment here from the WeatherTech Raceway. Ricky Freeman Jr., your race winner by 9 seconds over Aiden Smith. Casey Nanico 13 seconds back with William Brock in 4th. Shea Barrett was 5th. Stephen Colon was 6th with Patrick Smith in 7th. Bobby Vincent was 8th. Leo Devlin rounded out P9 with Cody Gaforth in 10th place. Zachary DeBello was 11th with Cameron Preston in 12th. Mason Skinner was in 13th, and Luca Garza, after spinning around with DeBello later on, finishes this race 14th place, just 4/10 behind Skinner. Almost made up to a 13th position finish. pretty entertaining opening race then, all things considered, and it is going to be a good-looking run as we're just waiting on the points calculations to come on in. But Ricky Freeman Jr., we know for a fact, is going to be the main points winner coming out of tonight's race with 25 points up from 11th place, but only 7 points up from Aiden Smith. Still working to see if we can get the proper championship standings displayed. There we go. Ricky Freeman Jr. up with 25 points for the championship lead. Well, that'll be a wrap from us then here at the WeatherTech Raceway. And my name has been Ola Rempel. I want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. Join us next time when we jump on over to Italy to go racing in Imola for round number 2.